Actually, we have something typical Hungarian thing here for you. Do you know this object?
Of course, the Rubik's Cube, and it's very famous, but I have to say I'm not good at it. So don't test me. Don't test me because it's not my thing.
Yeah. But we would like to give it to you as a memory.
Thank you very much.
It's invented by the Hungarian sculpture inventor Ernest Rubik as a present. And speaking of memories, what fond memories do you have about Hungary, and what is it like to return to the country?
First time I was here, I remember it was 2 years ago, quite recent, and it was my first time in the country playing with the Budapest Festival Orchestra, fantastic worldwide famous orchestra. But it wasn't the first experience that I have with Hungarian musicians, of course, because I remember so many years ago playing under the direction of Tamás Vasari. I was playing Chopin one, I remember. Then I had the chance to play with Itz van Wardij, the artistic director of the Franz Liszt Chamber Orchestra. We were a bit younger, and we were doing some chamber music with Tabea Zimmermann, some other great musicians. And then I was touring the Canary Island Festival in Spain, again with the Budapest Festival Orchestra and István Fischer. So quite recently, within the recent years, I have been lucky enough to collaborate and to work with Hungarian musicians, and of course to come here to Budapest and play. What can I say? It's like when you ask someone about a very popular and very famous city because of the beauty of the city. What can I add about Budapest that you or the rest of the world does not know? It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. People are so lovely. I have fun. A very flexible group of musicians, very welcoming, very easy to work with, and I found the city absolutely astonishing. So what can I say?
How much time do you have to see a city or immerse yourself in the culture of a given country?
Depends on the schedule. Sometimes you have more time, sometimes you don't have, literally don't have time. But lucky for me, on Sunday I arrive quite early, like midday, so I have the afternoon to practice and also to visit a bit the city. So this time I found some time to visit some of the city. Last time I remember the weather was not ideal, it was quite cold, and the schedule was quite tight because I was coming from the States, jet lag, time difference, repertoire and everything. I was quite focused on both concerts with the Budapest Orchestra and Orozco Estrada, Maestro Orozco Estrada, and I didn't have the time to experience even the food of the city, even the streets or the monuments, but this time I tried to find a bit more time to meet the city a bit more.
Does the location of the concerts, for example, the city itself, influence your chosen repertoire?
Not in this case, because we are going to do Beethoven. Of course, Beethoven, we could make connections in Beethoven in South Africa, in China, in Japan, in North America, because it's an universal composer. What makes a big difference for me is playing at the Liszt Academy, because when you approach the Liszt Academy and you see the name of the street, Doñani, okay, this sounds familiar as a musician, and you feel that those walls are full of great musicians, great experiences. There is no new, and for any pianist, particularly a pianist, to name Andrassy, Sultan Kokshes, and all these great legends of the Hungarian school, I'm missing quite a lot. So you can imagine, it's quite a big thing. So great respect, great admirations about the whole way you're playing and about the city, that this city is full of a great and historical background and tradition.
At the current concert, 2 Beethoven piano concertos will be played, which you will conduct from the piano. On the one hand, it is quite rare for 2 concertos to be played at the same time in a concert, as well as for the soloist and the conductor to be one and the same person. Why is such a challenge attractive?
I didn't find it a challenge. I find it in a very natural and organic way, because we have to remember that most of these concertos, like the Mozart piano concertos, were premiered this way, with the composer, not the composer in my case, but with the performer, the pianist, and conducting at the same time. I usually say that there is a beautiful word in Italian. The word is concertare. I think that's the word who perfectly applies to what I feel I'm doing, because I don't feel I'm a conductor, because I am not a conductor. So Playing conducting is a way to translate the spirit of that word of concertare, is put everyone in agreement, to explain really briefly about what is the meaning of that word. It's just to put everything together, to agree about the articulations, about the tempi, about the rhythm, about the colors, about everything, and that's the rehearsals are very useful for that. Beethoven 1 and 3, what can I say? It's very popular and very famous piano concertos. Number 1, we all know it was number 2, but you know, because of the catalog, he inverted the numbers. And number 1 is still breathing some kind of classic atmosphere. You can still smell some Mozart, some Haydn present. Number 3, of course, that influence is there, but it's some kind of big statement by Beethoven, like said, this is the beginning of something different. That's my point of view about that concerto. So presenting both concertos in the same evening, I think gives us a very good idea of how the development in Beethoven's production for piano and orchestra was happening between the first and the third. And it would be much more beautiful even to do the whole, the 5 of them, because you will see the whole adventure of Beethoven composing for piano and orchestra.
Yeah. Do you have to prepare differently when you perform with a symphony orchestra and when you perform with a chamber orchestra that usually does not have a conductor and which, moreover, is now supplemented by youngest musicians who are students of the Liszt Academy?
I don't make any difference when I'm doing this playing, conducting projects with a big orchestra, with smaller orchestras. Of course, what I find really beautiful on this occasion with this lovely orchestra is they have a degree of flexibility, of attention, of involvement or of excitement that it's not that it's impossible to find in a larger orchestra, but it's much more difficult because there is a different discipline on that and they are more used to work with a conductor. In this case, with this dynamic, fresh and flexible group of musicians, even with the reinforcements, I think we have been able this couple of days of rehearsals to build something very nice, and especially to have the common feeling that what we are really doing is some kind of chamber music in a big scale. So I hope this is what we are going to do in the concert, and I hope they can enjoy as much as I'm enjoying working with them.
Storytelling is a frequently used word among performers today. What stories do you want to tell with these Beethoven concertos?
This music, of course, we are not talking about a programmatic music. There is not a program behind. You can use a lot of images, but I don't tend to do it in rehearsals because all of us can have a different feeling about what we are listening. So, what story to tell? You know, music itself. This is pure music, essential music one, and we don't need to show any images to the audience or even to the musicians to make them feel exactly what I'm feeling, because, by the way, I'm not using those images or stories to build that kind of narrative. This music is so powerful, so intense, and of course you can find on it everything. It is the drama, because the third concerto is in C minor. The beginning is so dramatic, so heroic at the same time. It is the poetry. It is the sense of humor in the third movement, for instance, in both piano concertos, of course. So you have every storytelling you want to find, you can find it with this music, but there is no need to put any images or any labels to the music, because in some ways you're making it a bit short-minded in some ways.
I see. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
As a Spanish artist, you play a lot of Spanish music, but of course you also have all the important works of piano literature in your repertoire. Where do you place Beethoven in your life?
You know, this is like a bus line, and Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, Brahms, Debussy, it's an obligation stop for any pianist, and I would even say for any musicians. Where can I place Beethoven in my life? It's one of the big ones. People used to talk about the 3 great B's. Bach, of course, the father of everything, Beethoven and Brahms. But you know, when you're playing Mozart, you know, my God, this is spectacular. When you're playing Schumann, when you're playing Brahms, when you're playing Beethoven, when you're playing Bartók, that's another B. And I remember I recorded some years ago with Munich Philharmonic Bartók Piano Concerto No. 3. When you're practicing or listening or learning that music, you say, wow, this is a masterpiece. So of course Beethoven is one of the big ones, one of the great icons. Where I place Beethoven, you know, up there, but like all of them, because I consider all of them great geniuses.
And you started to reply to my next question, because I wanted to ask you about the Hungarian music you have played.
Sadly for me, because I should play more and should investigate more on that, I played quite a lot of Bartók when I was a student, and the first project that the Harmonia Mundi asked me to do with a big orchestra like Munich Philharmonic, I did record before Nights in the Garden of Spain, I did record the Greek Piano Concerto, and I was thinking on that piano concerto. Bartók, all of the piano concertos are fantastic. Second is a piece of art. First is absolutely spectacular. But for any reason I cannot explain, number 3 is very special. One of the last pieces he composed, together with the viola concerto. He finished in the States. The second movement is something really out of this world. I would say dreamy and material, something very special. And I would say it's another masterpiece. So yes, my commitment would be in the future I should play more Bartók and of course more Hungarian music.
In your CV, we can read about many previous concerts and collaborations, orchestras, festivals, chamber partners. When do you have time to relax? And when you do, what do you like to spend your free time with?
I'm very simple. It's very simple because what I most enjoy in my life is spending some time with my wife, spending some time with my family, my father, my friends, walking around, doing what everyone is doing to enjoy, go to the cinema, go for a walk. Lucky enough I am to live in a country like Spain. The weather usually is a very good one, and the chance to live in the south of Spain gives me an opportunity to enjoy a lot of nature. But it's very simple. I'm a huge fan also of sports, football, basketball, tennis, whatever. And what I most enjoy is sharing a cup of tea with a very good friend, stay with my wife and talk about our stuff, our life, and build together our beautiful future together. So nothing special.
Yeah. And maybe playing with the Rubik's Cube.
From now on I have to practice on this, to be a master on this too.
Yes, of course. And last but not least, tell us a little about working together with the Franz Liszt Chamber Orchestra. How did the rehearsals go? How did you prepare to meet them? And what experiences did you gain?
I cannot be happier because I find a very flexible group of musicians, a very enthusiastic group of musicians, totally open to every single idea I was proposing to them, totally committed. There was no one who was telling me I want to leave earlier. On the contrary, totally committed. We have done, from my point of view, a great work. We have rehearsed with a lot of intensity and concentration, and I find them a lovely group of musicians, willing to do music at the highest level, but at the same time enjoying the experience of doing chamber music. And on this particular program, when you have a pianist, a colleague doing the concertare labor, I found them very responsible or taking the initiative. And that's something very important for me to find in an orchestra. People who are taking responsibility, and the attitude is always proactive and not waiting for what you have to say. For me, it's been really a great pleasure working with them.
Thank you very much for agreeing to this conversation.
Pleasure for me.
We wish you good luck for this concert and for your future projects too. Thank you again.
Pleasure.